I want to talk to you very briefly about the slides that I have for the Punnett Square practice. When we look at this first slide here, we can see that we have two mice. We have the black mouse up here and the brown mouse down here. So this is a male mouse, and it is homozygous dominant. So its genotype is capital B, or homozygous dominant. And here is the other mouse. This is the mom mouse, and its genotype is homozygous recessive, so little b, little b. When meiosis occurs, the dad mouse can either pass on this chromosome or this here, or this chromosome here. The mother mouse can pass on this chromosome here or this chromosome here. And so it really doesn't matter which egg cell is fertilized. The zygote, or the fertilized egg, is going to have a dominant allele right here from the dad and a recessive allele right here on the chromosome that the mouse inherits from the mom. That means that all of the offspring, no matter how many offspring they have, are all going to have the genotype of heterozygous, and they're all going to be black. So this is pretty simple. You probably don't have to have a Punnett square for this necessarily, and you can figure it out really pretty simply just by looking at it. However, if we go on to the next slide, then we start to see that this gets much more complex. So now we have the dad mouse, who is heterozygous, and the mom mouse, who is also heterozygous. And so now this chromosome with the dominant allele can be passed on, or this chromosome with the recessive allele can be passed on. Those are the two possibilities for what the dad mouse can pass on. Same thing with the mom mouse. She can pass on either the chromosome with the dominant allele or the chromosome with the recessive allele. So now you have to go through, if you're going to draw this especially, you would have to draw through and put in all of these arrows to see that, okay, if you have this sperm fertilizing this egg, then you would get a homozygous dominant offspring. If you have this sperm fertilizing this egg, then you would have heterozygous. If you have this sperm fertilizing this egg, then you would have heterozygous. And if you have this sperm fertilizing this egg, then you would have homozygous recessive. So now we have three different genotypes: homozygous dominant, heterozygous, and homozygous recessive. So now you probably like the squares just a little bit better. This becomes very complex if it's not drawn out in a Punnett square. And so today in class, what I had students do is actually put this in their notes, label it for slide 3, or if you were using the notes from yesterday, slide 4, because it was in a little bit different place, and just put in what this would look like if you were doing this with a Punnett square. And you can go ahead and do that on paper so that you can practice it if you would like. And you can pause and then come back and join us. Now that you have drawn your own Punnett square, let's look on at the next slide. So this slide just shows some of your glossary terms. And so it goes through some basic information. This one right here, you don't really need to know. But the next one, what the genetic constitution or genetic makeup of an organism is its genotype. What you can see about an organism, or what you can observe, the physiological characteristics, that would be its phenotype. And then here's where you can see how the phenotypes and the genotypes combine. If you use this, you can check the Punnett square that you made and see if this fits with what you did. So heterozygous female, heterozygous male, and here would be their offspring, the possible genotypes of the offspring, and then you can figure out from here what the phenotypes would be. Here is just some information. It's kind of interesting for whatever this example is, and I forgot what it is, and I forgot to look it up the other day as well. For this one, ZZ is male and ZW is female. So that's a little bit different than in humans, but you can still figure out what the possible offspring would be, which sex they would be, which biological sex. The next thing that we did in class was to identify this as slide 7 and then work this out on your own. So see if you can take a look at this slide. This Punnett square. You don't need to draw 3 Punnett squares. Just take this Punnett square and see if you can follow the steps and actually draw this out on your own so that you get a completed Punnett square at the end. You do not need to make 3 different ones. Just on the one can you put in all of these steps, and it tells you what to do step by step. And this is just notes. It's just for your practice. If you want to practice on this, then you can pause here, practice on it, and then check and make sure that what you have matches what's on here. This next slide is a much more complex way of going through meiosis, but it does show all of the different phases. So what you would do is choose a genotype. So if we were still using the mice, the heterozygous mice, you would have a capital B and a lowercase b here for the male, and a capital B and a lowercase b here for the female. And then you would put in all of the possibilities. So there are 4 gametes. 2 of them could be the uppercase B, 2 of them could be the lowercase b for the male, same for the female. So 2 uppercase B, 2 lowercase b. And then you would take this one, which was a lowercase b, and bring it over here and do all of your combinations. So that would be a lowercase b combined with an uppercase b. So you would write in a big B and little b here. So that would be heterozygous. Take the lowercase b here. This one would have been an uppercase b. That would combine also for heterozygous, so uppercase and lowercase. And just keep on down through here. So this is another lowercase or recessive allele. And these 2 are dominant alleles. And so you can just go all the way through this and see, this is a model, and it's a functional model, but it is much more complex than just using a Punnett square. As you go on through here, there are some various other ways of looking at crosses, and so you've got several examples here, and you can look at those, and they may help you to figure out, oh, this is what this situation would look like. This is what this cross would look like. And then we get into slide 10 and further on, and this is looking at coat color in horses. And you can do some practice as you go. So all of this is just practice. It's not assigned necessarily for most of the classes. I think I had one of the classes do this as practice. I think that was my 3rd period, but everybody else, this is not required practice, but it is available to you.